I'd like to share some of my thoughts on emergency communications. When we think about emergency communication and what scenario to train for, it makes sense to me to learn and practice for the worst case. If we have the skills to communicate during a complete loss of power and communication infrastructure, then we will be able to adapt to less demanding circumstances. As amateur radio operators, we are human, and we are prone to the same normalcy bias as others are. We tend to minimize the likelihood and severity of events that could negatively affect us. We like to say hurricanes don't hit Maine, but they do. Not as often as Florida, but they do. Reading through the county risk assessment, floods, winter storms, summer storms are the most likely. As radio-minded people, we are more cognizant of the activities and cycles of the sun. Most normal folk have never even heard of the Carrington event. Now, the Carrington event was a powerful geomagnetic storm during solar cycle 10 that was from 1855 to 1867. In 1859, a solar coronal mass ejection hit Earth with the largest geomagnetic storm on record. It lasted for 2 days. Earth will sooner or later be impacted by another CME, and probably sooner rather than later because major CMEs occur about every 150 years, and the last one, the Carrington event, occurred 158 years ago. Telegraph systems failed in Europe and America. At that time, most people did not have electric lights or telephone or any electronic equipment. The old telegraph equipment was much more robust than our electronics are. When, not if, another CME hits, Earth will deal with loss of GPS and other communication satellites. Cell phone reception and much of the power grid will be damaged. Global aircraft fleets rely on satellite guidance. The new public service trunk systems relies on the internet to function and will be gone. Your refrigerator won't work. None of our electronic and electric stuff will be available. Most air traffic will be grounded. A major CME lasts more than 24 hours, so the devastation will be worldwide, unlike localized disasters like hurricanes and tsunamis. In July of 2012, a CME comparable to the Carrington storm narrowly missed the Earth. NASA says we need to be prepared. So we prepare. We learn the skills we will need, we train, and then train again. So, what are the priorities when preparing for the effects of a CME? Well, I'll start out with emergency power. We need resilient equipment that will survive, redundant equipment. If one of our radios gets fried, then we need to have a second one to put into play. We need good grounding. Very important to have your equipment grounded properly. And we need lightning protection. Studies are showing that lightning suppressors may protect our equipment from a CME or an EMP. Did I say emergency power? If your station runs on just commercial power, anytime we lose power, the radio just won't work. I moved to my present location 3 years ago. Before I turned on a radio or put up an antenna, I installed solar panels and battery backup with a surge protector circuit. My radios all run on battery power. I have a laptop that will run on 12 volts. I have backup lighting that is 12 volts. So the priorities. Please think about emergency power. Then think about simple non-infrastructure equipment, and then more complex equipment. To better facilitate training and camaraderie, our emergency communication team is in the process of being organized into small groups. There is a need for operators of all skill levels. There is a place for you, no matter your skill level. Those of us that have years of experience and well-developed stations should be prepared to encourage, coach, and help those just starting out to learn the skills that are needed to function in an emergency. Now let's briefly talk about the most basic skills and equipment needed to be productive. Studying and passing the technician exam and even the general exam does not really give you the skills. They just give you an introduction to the regulations and theory. The license is not the end goal, but instead it is our ticket to ride the train of never-ending learning, fun, and service. Now, CW is still king of the air, and we need more CW operators, and digital modes are valuable, but today we will just talk about analog voice. Other modes and methods are important as we want to get the message through at any means necessary, but today we're just going to be talking about analog voice. So the most basic knowledge and skills beyond the license exam are the phonic alphabet. The phonic alphabet needs to be practiced until it's just a natural part of our thought process. Nets are the most productive time-tested way to handle emergency and other traffic in stressful times. Simple chit-chat and short tactical messages are a very good thing, but if you have a detailed and important message to deliver, a traffic net is the most reliable way to go. So net protocol needs to be known. How to pass traffic is not part of the license exam, but it is a vital part of an emergency team communication method. So we train, and we teach, and we learn, and then we train again. So the most basic knowledge and skills beyond the license exam are the phonic alphabet, net protocol, net control, traffic handling. Other skills and abilities are how to interface with the ICS command system in an emergency, how to deploy an antenna, how to troubleshoot antennas, basic antenna theory, balins, how do you make a balin, when do you need a balin, and grounding, very important that your equipment be grounded, and emergency power. How do you set up and how do you use emergency power? And I'll just put this in here. We need paper map skills. It's becoming a lost art. We use GPS and we just plug in where we want to go and follow the GPS, not really thinking about the route because we're going to be told where to go. But in the case of losing the grid and losing electronics, that's going to be gone. Paper map skills. And there's many other nuances of mobile and portable operating that we need to learn and only learn by doing it. Then we need to ask ourselves, what do you need for equipment if you are activated? Or the real question, I suppose, and probably the key question, are you willing to be activated? Some of us will be able to be activated and stay right at home, serving as a key relay station. Others will be deployed to client sites or other locations depending on the circumstances. A brief description of roles that we will play are as follows. Now this assumes the grid is down, repeaters are offline, and GPS is defunct. Let's start with the rank beginner who wants to volunteer and be a part of the emergency team. The rank beginner just passed the license test or maybe is still studying for the test. In an exercise or other training event, this person could observe, assist with equipment setup, deliver messages by foot, and oh, by the way, they can operate the radio under the supervision of a more experienced teammate. If this is you, if you are the rank beginner who's just starting out, there's a real need for you on this team. And the next level we'll talk about is the trainee who is licensed with some experience and, oh, by the way, have finished the ICS 100 and 700 courses using a pre-programmed handheld or mobile with a field deployable antenna. They could be providing a tactical simplex operation, gathering information and transmitting simplex to their supervising responder. Now for the responder who has completed all the trainee courses plus the Em-comm courses, could be the one initiating traffic, receiving traffic, and running a local simplex net if needed. This responder may have the capability to use WinLink email mobilely. Now, the more advanced responder, who's experienced, highly skilled, is a key relay station that will receive and pass traffic to the EMA station or client station. This needs to be an experienced and skilled operator with proven ability to run a net, pass traffic by voice, and have digital capabilities. And that describes the basic players in a small group concept that will make up our emergency team. So that describes the basic players in the small group concept that will make up our emergency team. So no matter your skill or license level, you are needed. You are needed to make this work. Now I should acknowledge at this point that being willing to volunteer your time and equipment to serve your community in a time of stress is a step above most. I commend you and thank you for your dedication. Okay, so let's look at the equipment you will need to fill these roles on the team. The county has very generously provided the team with some equipment, and we will be using it to its full potential as we train together. As a beginner, you don't really have to have a radio. All you need is a desire to learn and volunteer to help. As you learn, you'll want, of course, to get a radio. Many start with a handheld 2-meter at least, or a 2-meter 70 centimeter. Our primary is 2-meter analog, but 70 centimeter is a good backup and will come into play more in the future. A handheld will give you experience and skills. Can you program your radio on the fly without a computer and software? If not, there's your next challenge. Do you have a field deployable antenna to extend the range of that handheld? Buy one, or better yet, learn to build one. We'll soon do training sessions on building your own antennas. Once you are comfortable with your handheld, the next level of radio would be a mobile that can be powered by your vehicle or set up in your home with a permanent antenna and a good grounding system, hopefully with emergency power setup. Typically a mobile unit with a simple mag mount antenna is much more powerful than a handheld. Again, a field deployable antenna can extend your range significantly. Now after you've mastered that mobile radio, programmed it, and participated in the training net enough to be comfortable, it's time to look into learning how to pass traffic, then volunteer to serve as net control occasionally. Now does this sound like too much to expect from an amateur radio operator that's new to the hobby? Well, maybe or maybe not, but we need to assume our volunteers are motivated to learn, to advance, and to excel. I think we lose volunteers because they get bored. As the saying so frequently goes, the repeaters are dead, no one's talking. But why is that? It's because no one's talking. Get your handheld out of the junk drawer and talk, or pick up your mic and talk. I challenge you to get on the radio and be available to talk to one another. Now, of course, this conversation can't cover everything, but I'm hoping it will shed some light on our direction as an emergency communication team. To be successful, a team has to have a core focus, a directed objective. We need to focus on non-infrastructure based equipment for a grid-down communication capability. Now, ham radio is a very broad hobby that covers many ways to communicate. I encourage all to explore and experiment and learn all you can. But for our emergency team, we need to focus on non-infrastructure based equipment for grid down communication capability. Now we will have specialists who are skilled at things like packet nodes, APRS, WinLink, All-Star, and the list goes on. Now I like playing with those things. I have a node. They need to be experimented with and explored to augment our communication as long as the infrastructure is operational. But when the grid goes down, the infrastructure is just gone. So here's the basic equipment needed. For a basic trainee setup, you need a 2-meter handheld radio with extra batteries and a way to recharge. You need a field deployable antenna and your personal ready kit. That's a whole nother subject. Every one of us will have a different type of personal ready kit, the things that you would need to take care of yourself if you were deployed. The basic responder setup is everything that the basic trainee has, plus a mobile 2-meter radio with a mag mount antenna. Now, a more experienced responder, or we'll call them an intermediate responder setup, would be all of the trainee stuff, all of the basic responder stuff, plus a mobile TNC or software packet capability, WinLink, email, mobile or portable emergency power. Now, an advanced responder is going to have all of that, HF mobile or portable, and the ability to deploy a near vertical incident antenna, NIVIS, how I pronounce it, for 40 through 80 meters, and possibly and would like to see mobile or portable HF WinLink and other digital mode capability. Now, in a fixed location relay station, now this is for the older experienced ops that we have that have very established stations in their QTH. They have fixed HF, VHF, UHF antennas, and they need to have both long haul and NIVIS antennas so that we can communicate both within our county and also outside of our county. And we also need to have digital capability on all of those plus CW. CW is a bonus. Okay, so there is a summary of our direction, and I hope you will come along and be a key player in this. It's a team effort. It takes every one of us striving towards the goal of being prepared. I'm very aware this brief introduction did not cover everything, but I'm hoping it gave you enough information to help you understand the core focus and our directed objective. I hope you'll be a part of this adventure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share.